Hello, and welcome to Tarot and Attachment. My name is Erin Smith. I am a professional tarot reader and an associate marriage and family therapist. And I've been thinking about what it is that I want to look at today. In fact, I'll be completely honest. I am feeling really tired, and I didn't even really want to do this week. I was considering taking the week off. And so that has gotten me thinking. There's a theme that has been coming up lately around showing up, regardless of how you feel, and, acknowledging resistance, acknowledging discomfort, and responding by being in practice and following through on commitments. In recovery, they call it acting better than you feel. And there really is something significant to that because, of course, we as human beings are going to confront challenges and discomfort all throughout life. And sometimes, in certain seasons of life, that can happen for extended periods. And the way that we respond will often affect outcomes. So, sometimes when you're tired, you rest, and that is an appropriate response to checking in with what's authentically going on. And sometimes taking contrary action can allow you to shift an energy that might otherwise linger. And of course, there's no easy answer. It's not a formula. It's not like it's one way or the other. It's and both, depending on circumstances, and requires a certain kind of present tense awareness, cultivating that present tense awareness in order to sort of intuitively address what is coming up, what is arising. So I'm trying to think of what the question I would like to ask. It has something to do with this, gaining insight or receiving insight into how we as human beings can care for ourselves and move through the world in the most skillful way, even when we're being confronted with challenges, either personal challenges, physical challenges, mental, emotional challenges within ourselves or in society at large. So it's kind of a nebulous question, but I'm just going to put it out there to source. What do we most need to know about this general topic? So I'm going to go silent. I'm going to concentrate while I shuffle. Say a prayer. Hmm. Hmm. So, okay, I'm going to address the card that jumped because those are always important. And it doesn't happen that often. You're shuffling or you're, pulling the piles and one just jumps out to get your attention. It's significant. And so I think the first way to address this question is really cautioning us about rigidity. That again, there isn't just one way to respond to any situation at any given moment in your life. And the more sort of contracted we are around a situation, the more we are narrowly focused on the way things need to be in order for us to get our needs met or for the things to come out in a way that feels secure and supported. This contracted energy actually makes it harder to find ways to flow with circumstances and to like essentially flexibility is a marker of mental health. That the ability to attune to a situation or to a person and to respond in an immediate and spontaneous way that meets the needs of the moment is actually, it requires a certain amount of internalized security. To the extent that you need to arrange circumstances externally in a very specific way in order to elicit some internal security, it kind of means that your security is always going to be threatened. It's always in peril simply because external circumstances are constantly shifting and changing. It will always be the case. Some days you feel good and some days you don't. Some days things flow easily and some days they don't. Some days there's money in the bank, some days there isn't. It's just this thing. And so the Four of Pentacles is asking us to look at where we are clinging tightly to a certain set of circumstances that we need in order to feel safe and to actually let go and acknowledge that under most circumstances in the moment, there is some semblance of safety and security. I mean, obviously, that's not true for everyone under all circumstances, right? There are plenty of people out there right now who are going through tremendous, catastrophic hardship. But I think it's fair to say that here in my space, for the most part, I'm safe. And if you are listening to this, that is likely true for you. You're likely not listening to this having a car accident. And so acknowledging that, really being able to come into the present moment and say that these external circumstances that are largely beyond our control, the more that I'm trying to manage and control them, the tighter and more confined I become to a very rigid set of rules that must be followed in order to create a sense of safety and security. And of course, the Four of Pentacles is sort of highlighting the absurdity of this in the imagery. He's a king and he's sitting in front of his kingdom. And the idea is that, of course, kings are in possession of great wealth. He doesn't have to hold on so tightly to every coin to ensure his sense of being provided for. It's an illusion. It's an illusion anyway. This illusion that somehow if we get all our ducks in a row, that then we can relax and feel safe. Because it never happens. And so ultimately, it's about recognizing where we have are being taken care of right now in this moment, and soaking into that and trusting that whatever comes our way, as circumstances ebb and flow, as they always will, that we will somehow be resourced enough to handle them efficiently, elegantly. And, you know, this idea of getting our needs met, again, this is what it is to be an embodied being. We have physical needs. It is simply a truth of living on this planet. And so this idea of trusting that it is possible to get our needs met, that there is aces are like getting a divine download from the universe. And the Ace of Pentacles I often associate with divine right livelihood, or essentially this idea that it is possible for us to get our needs met, that it can come from source, that we have access to the things in life that we need in order to care for ourselves. And, you know, again, it's not always easy to see that or to access that if we are struggling with something in our lives, you know. It is absolutely understandable that someone with a chronic illness has this despairing feeling like, will I ever feel well? Or somebody who's struggling financially, am I ever going to have enough to get by? And so this is a kind of like orientation towards casting a wide net, seeing the bigger picture, accessing this internal sense of abundant flow, and really feeling into this sense that we will not be denied, that we have just as much right to the things in life that support us, and that we can be physically cared for in the ways that we need to be in order to thrive ourselves. And then also, you know, think of it this way. It is not a selfish thing to want to prosper. And the reason I say that is that for the vast majority of people, when their basic needs are cared for, they are then able to give of themselves more freely, of the gifts that they possess, that bring us into a collaborative relationship to others and to society at large. Obviously, again, there are always outliers. There are always those that enough is never enough, and they're hoarding all the resources at the top for themselves. We are seeing that plenty. But generally speaking, when we have this experience of being fed, then we have energy to extend to others in the world. And that's sort of being highlighted here, that the Three of Pentacles is working collaboratively with others. It is coming together, each with our own unique set of skills, and providing those skills in a collaborative sense to build structures that support us all. And so it's again also an acknowledgement that we're coming together to support one another so that there can be this equal distribution of health and well-being, of material resources, this ability to tap into the abundance and make sure that everyone is benefiting from that abundance, rather than being this sort of stingy, rigid, hoarding all the resources in order to feel safe and secure, that there's a sense of security that comes from an equal distribution, this ability for people to come together and really be acknowledged for their gifts in the building of society. There's also this emphasis here on, I would say, emotional intelligence, which is sort of twofold. It's the ability to feel one's own feelings, to really connect with what's going on somatically in the body in response to situations. So being able to acknowledge feelings of anxiety, acknowledge feelings of compassion, acknowledge feelings of pain or distress, to notice where those sensations are occurring in the body, to be able to see the connection between situations that are happening and the feelings that are being invoked, to be able to name those feelings, speak about them clearly, and then also to connect to other people's feelings, to notice what they're going through, to bear witness to that in a compassionate way, without becoming overwhelmed or needing to shut down or needing to change that somehow, to really be in the presence of an emotional potency and not be knocked off center. And this is really a requirement for love. And I think that in so many ways, like there's a lot of pentacle energy coming up here. But this idea of getting your needs met isn't just about things. It's these needs are equally about having emotional support and being emotionally centered and regulated. So this is really a period of taking time to reflect. What is needed in this moment in time? And to be honest in our assessment of ourselves and those around us. The Four of Swords is taking respite from the battle of life. It's being in reflective repose. It's taking a moment out of the fray, a moment of stillness, to go inward and to check in with a kind of internal truth before one takes actions out in the world. And again, this is, how will you know how you feel if you're never spending any time looking inward? If everything is about procuring safety from the external world, then again, it's very hard to be emotionally self-regulated if you are associating your sense of security with ever-changing circumstances. So it's pretty important to take that time for self-reflection and to listen inward deeply. I really very much associate the Four of Swords with meditation. And in this sort of ability to look inward, again, I think that's being mirrored here in the Hermit. The Hermit is one who goes inward to seek the answers for himself. And when we are in a regular practice of meditation, of reflection, of noticing what is arising and falling away in sense space, this is where real changes can take place and where we can revise old ideas about ourselves, acknowledge limiting beliefs about what is possible for us, what's possible for the world at large, and being able to let that go, let those old ideas or old belief systems die when they no longer serve the collective whole. But again, it's very hard to let old systems or old behaviors die until you are able to see them clearly. And much of the time that requires just space for insight. You know, a contemplative practice invites insight. And, you know, I don't know if any of you, I imagine some of you who listen to these readings have a contemplative practice. And I know for myself, there are plenty of times where I'm like, I don't want to meditate today. And to be fair, I don't meditate every day, but I do make it an intentional, regular practice. And to the degree that I do it more regularly than not, I notice a difference in the way that I'm showing up in the world, again, both for myself and for others. I tend to be more regulated when I am meeting with challenges. If I have had that check-in, if I have been able to avail myself of that time and space for reflection. And so finally here we have, you know, I love this card so much. It is an acknowledgement of love, of true love. The kind of love that is expressed through recognition, a desire to give of ourselves most authentically, and an ability to receive the other with acceptance and celebration. You know, this equal exchange of giving and receiving, a desire to know one another deeply, and an appreciation for the depth of that exchange. That there is something really potent about that experience of knowing ourselves deeply, and therefore being able to show up for others in a deep and true way. So yeah, I don't know if that really, I guess it was sort of a nebulous question, so it was a little bit of a nebulous answer, but there are definitely, I think, some nuggets of truth that are helpful, or more nuggets of insight that I think can be helpful in orienting ourselves as we are changing, as the world around us is changing, and how we can show up in skillful ways in order to get our needs met and to ensure that others get their needs met too. Moving away from contraction and hoarding into generosity and reciprocity. So that's what I have today on this Sleepy Sunday. I am wishing you all many blessings. Take care.